Yep, we're ready.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Ready. Good morning. It is 7 a.m. A quorum is present, and the meeting has been duly called and posted in the time and manner required by law. I would like to invite Matt Spitzberg, the Senior Minister of Raintree Christian Church, to open our meeting with a prayer and lead the audience in the pledges to the American and Texas flags.
Let us pray. Gracious God, as we begin this new day gathered together, we do so with a shared commitment to the well-being and the flourishing of our students, of our staff, and community. We thank you for the dedication of each person represented here today, for the educators and administrators who lead with integrity, and for the families who entrust their children to our schools each and every day. And this morning, we acknowledge the current season of state assessments, a time that calls for courage and focus and perseverance. And we pray for calm minds, resilient spirits, and steady guidance for all, especially those who support and lead through these critical weeks. And as this board turns to the business before it today, we pray that you would grant all those gathered here clarity of thought, grace in words, and a spirit of unity in decision making. May the discussions that follow reflect not only their collective responsibilities, but also their deep care for all of the lives that are impacted by this work. In all that unfolds today, together, may we be grounded in purpose, guided by compassion, and renewed in our commitment to create a school community where every student can thrive. Lord, hear our prayers, and it's in your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Matt. We appreciate you being here early to get our meeting started off on a right note. And because of those state assessments, we do not have any student recognitions today. So we are going to adjourn into executive closed session. An executive closed session will be held under the provisions of Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. It is 7:02 a.m., and we're adjourned to closed session. right. It is 7:20 a.m. and we are reconvened from executive closed session. Do we have any actions following closed session?
We do.
All right, Trustee Chavez.
I move that we ratify the assignment to Josie Cedillo as the principal at Wolfforth Elementary.
A motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations, Josie.
So thank you. Good morning, everyone. This actually does seem a bit familiar. So I do want to acknowledge God's plan in placing me at OL Slayton. I do believe that I was there to serve a purpose. I was there to make a difference, and I know that all of the learning curves, the difficult conversations, everything I'm going to take with me for those experiences. So I am grateful for that.
Nice.
President Bridges, Vice President Curry, Dr. Rollo, all members of the school board, thank you for trusting in me, believing in me to lead another campus. I do want to introduce my support system behind me. I have all my kids, Christian, Braden, Caleb, and Avery. Maggie May and McKinley have also joined us, and of course the rock of our family, my husband. While they are behind me today, this year, and all my education, they walk beside me, and this year they've sometimes walked in front of me. They've had to walk in front of me and pull me along, and so I am so grateful for all of you, so thank you. And looking around the room, there's a lot of others that have supported me, and I thank you all as well. OL Slayton definitely has a special place in my heart, the students, the staff, and I am happy, excited for the new opportunities for all of them. I know that I'm going to cheer on their successes. I was also fortunate to be a part of the Monterey feeder pattern this year, where I get to celebrate their accomplishments as well, and just collaborated with some great leaders. I am happy and ready to rejoin my Lubbock High family, so I am excited about that as well. And
Sorry,
with
Jack.
that, I want to express my sincere gratitude for this opportunity to serve as the Wolfforth Elementary principal. I'm honored, I'm excited just to build upon the strong foundation that is being left by Dr. Gillespie, Cody Brockman, among others. Their leadership is just a long-lasting legacy, and I am committed to continuing that. So thank you again for your support and trust.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other actions?
Yes, ma'am. I move that we hire Denise Karn as the principal of Honey Elementary School.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
So moved.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. President Bridges, the rest of the Board of Trustees, and Dr. Rollo, thank you. I am humbled and so gracious to accept this position. I'm a product of Lubbock schools. I went to Machen and Evans and Monterey, and have been in the Monterey feeder pattern at Monterey the last 4 years. So to get to be a principal within that feeder pattern is very special to me. I want to thank some of the people that have helped me along the way, because a lot of them are in this room. Dr. Rollo, for being the principal that you were as I began my educational career as a teacher. Thank you so much for modeling caring and excellence in every way. You're the reason that I'm standing here today. Also, Kevin Boo was in the room somewhere a little while ago. And Mr. Boo was there as I started my leadership journey, and he pushed me along the way, and he believed in my leadership abilities, and I really appreciate all of the support. And Kelly Archer, bless her heart, answered every question I had every single day, and I hope she will continue to do so. So thank you so much. And finally, Mr. Percupal, we started out at Monterey together as students.
Whoa.
And here we are. We got to spend the last 4 years together in leadership there. He threw more and more and more at me every year to prove to me I could juggle more than I ever thought. And he supported me to love students the way I believed I should, and kept telling me I would be successful. So thank you so much. Also, I'd like to thank and introduce my family. I have my husband, Terry, who has put up with long educational hours for years and years, and probably cut out more lamination than anyone in this room. And my 3 precious children. I have Tyler and AJ and Amanda, and they are the reason I chose education. And so they're here with me today. Their spouses who married into our crazy family and some reason decided to stay. We've got Noemi and Victoria and my son-in-law Jacob, who's not with us this morning. And then my precious grandchildren. They're why I do this every day, thinking of their future. Got Paisley and Parker and Millie and Ryan and Charles, who's ducking back there and doesn't want to. They're the reason I keep pushing for education to be the best it can be. And then the back row back there, who I didn't know was coming this morning. My friends of more than 30 years who've supported me as I went back to school, every time I went back to school, and have helped me raise my family. We've done this together. We're a team. So thank you to all of them. I want to continue working in LISD. I believe in our mottos of building strong leaders. I believe in loving people so much, and I value data, and I want to keep doing that, and I'm proud to do it as a honey bear. So thank you so much for this tremendous honor. I will do my very best to please those at Honey and to help them grow into the very best school they can be. Thank you.
Beautiful words from both of you. So I'll open the floor for trustee comments.
Well, I'll start then. I'll just jump in there. First, Ms. Carrin, thank you for your passionate words. Ms. Cedillo, I'll be emotional. You had a tough year, and you handled it with such grace and professionalism. Thank you.
You'll make all of us cry. Stop.
Sorry.
You know, Ms. Cedillo, Josie, I've known you for many years. You've been at Lubbock High, done phenomenal things. I think you had great leadership. Mr. Young has been great at bringing you guys up to where you guys need to be. That's why you moved up the ladder, because that's his job. That's what he does. So I'm impressed with him. I continue to be. But I know that you're going to do great things at Wolford. As you know, we've had great standing principals there. And I think by putting you there, change is always good. That's the way I look at things. And I can see you doing great things. It's always great for things to change instead of it being stagnant. So thank you. You're going to love the community. You know most of those kids. They come from Arnett Benson anyways, and the feeder pattern of Lubbock and Cavazos. So thank you for taking on this job. God bless you and your family. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys being here and supporting her. She's awesome.
I think leadership is a word that was used several times. I think in the environment that we're in today, something that's tremendously important. Josie and Denise, those words that you spoke were impactful. They seemed to come easily because I think they were very sincere. I look around this room and I see fellow educators, families, friends supporting you guys, and it makes me feel really, really good about the position that I'm in. I think people like you make this job a lot easier. Makes me feel really good about this district. I know that we're in a tough spot. We're in a tough spot, and we need people like you. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Denise.
Josie, to echo Nancy's words, man, incredible job, tough challenge, and you handled it with grace and strength and perseverance. And so not only to you, but your entire staff, I commend all of y'all. That is, it's a noble job that you all did this year. And I'm thankful for you and y'all's friendship, and could not be more proud and happy for you to go over Wolford and do an amazing job. And Denise, I know you'll have to unlearn all of what Jack has tried to instill in you, which will take some time, but excited for you to be a honey bear and to continue aligning that school with the Monterey feeder system. I'm biased, but I think Monterey's got the feeder system as a whole has some amazing things going on that I hope catch fire in our other feeders. And I know they're strong as well in their own rights, but looking forward to what you're able to do there. And thank you for your service to Monterey. It's been awesome. So.
Just hearing what you had to say, I'm looking very forward to even more of it as a honey bearer.
Ms. Cedillo, Ms. Karin, both of you touched the educational life of my son, and I want to thank you for what you did for all of your students, and I know that you will continue to do that. So thank you for your career, for your passion, and for the future of what you are going to do for our district. Thank you. Dr. Rollo, any words?
We are just so incredibly grateful to both of you, and thank you for your leadership, and I look forward to what you're going to do in your new roles. Thank you.
All right, we will take about a 5-minute break for pictures so we can get family and feeder patterns and whoever wants to come up here. So we'll take a short break and then we'll reconvene.
see that.
All right, we are reconvened after our short break. And the next order of business on the agenda is citizen comments. Before we begin, I would like to review the provisions in board policy governing the procedures for public participation as reflected in BED Local. The audience shall not enter into discussion or debate on the matters being considered by the board. I will remind members of the board that the citizen comments section of our board meeting is for the purpose of listening to patrons, but we are not allowed to comment or debate on issues that are not posted. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes, and a timer will go off at the completion of 3 minutes. Please conclude your comments within the time limit allowed. As I call your name, if you would come up to the podium and state your name for the record, please. I'd like to invite Naya Dukowski to the podium.
Hello, my name is Naya Dukowski. Is that all? Okay, yes. First, I want to thank you all for being here. I know that several of you ran unopposed in your recent elections, and to me that says that many people don't want this job. And so I appreciate you guys for stepping up and doing this job that is unpaid to do. I know it's a sacrifice for many of you to be here, and I appreciate that sacrifice. I am here today to voice my concern about Prop A, particularly the selection of the Future Focus Committee. I believe that selection was unjust, and it violates the mission of public schools as defined by the Texas Education Code. So according to your own educational philosophy, which is posted in the board manual on your website, the mission of public education is, quote, grounded on the conviction that a successful public education system is directly related to a strong, dedicated, and supportive family, and that parental involvement in the school is essential for the maximum educational achievement of a child. And so in regard to the Future Focus Committee, your own website says that the committee members were selected by, quote, invitations to participate were sent to people who were suggested by the Board of Trustees, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have time to read the entire paragraph. But the important point of that is that you sent a limited number of invitations, if my understanding is correct, to only certain individuals. And instead of rather opening it up to a process to all parents to be involved. When I withdrew my son from the district in 2023 and met with administrators, this lack of transparency and access for parents to make a difference was a concern that I voiced to them then, as well as at a town hall that I attended later after that time. And so it seems to me that this lack of access for all parents and lack of transparency is an ongoing issue in this district. And so I want to ask you all, how long will you refuse to give a voice to every parent for every child every day? How long will you continue to show partiality? Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to the financials section of our agenda. First up, we have approval of the budget summary reports for the months ending February 28th, 2025 and March 31st, 2025. Budget amendments and budget transfers for the months of February 2025 and March 2025. Statements of taxes collected for the months ending February 28th, 2025 and March 31st, 2025. And the investment reports for the periods of February 1st through February 28th, 2025 and March 1st through March 31st, 2025. Dr. Wilkins.
Thank you, President Bridges, Board of Trustees. So I'm going to walk you through this morning on the financials. I'm going to stick with just March because the February financials are included in the March, but we're catching up now that we've passed Christmas. So if you'll look at the first page there, that's your budget summary, and the number I draw your attention to is the 72% on the bottom right side of that. We're 75% at the time of this through the year, so we're sitting at 72% expended. That's very good that we're coming in under budget on that, so we do like to see that. If you'll go to the next page, that is your food service, and so food service is coming in where it needs to be. Debt service on the next page is right on schedule. The next one is your capital projects, and so that is winding down with the 2018 bond being completed, so we're looking at getting the rest of those funds expended. And then moving on to your budget amendments. Draw your attention to just a couple of items, recognizing some revenue And the camp invention revenue, that's a tuition-based STEM camp in the summer, so we're recognizing that. Some insurance recovery, which is the brick repair at Estacada High School. Moving on to the next page. This is your budget transfers. So just taking care of some housekeeping items, keeping some functions in balance there. Moving to the next, we have two pages here of Head Start, and the reason why is the grant ends in February and then another one starts. So we have one that's showing the ending of the current grant and the beginning of the new grant. So you show expending all the money and then the new money coming in. So that's why you show 2 pages there on that one. Okay, moving on to our tax collections. Tax collections, we are currently, according to the data, outpacing the same period last year on tax collections, which is good. We're still not back to where we were prior to COVID. We were collecting 99, 100% prior to COVID. We're still not to that yet. We're hovering around 97 to 98%. So hopefully soon we'll see that pick back up. And then last is our investments on the very last page. And we're seeing interest rates take a slight dip. We're down to 5.11 on our average, which is still great. It's just not that high 6 that we were seeing earlier in last year. So we're seeing some dips there, and that'll probably settle here in the coming months. So, all right, I will answer any questions if you have any questions.
Do we have a motion to approve the financials?
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Consent agenda, consider board approval of minutes for the regular meeting and workshop held March 13th, 2025. Do we have any corrections to the minutes from the March meeting of the board as printed and distributed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as printed. Before we continue, do we have any members of the public who have signed in to address the board regarding a posted agenda item? No? Okay. Seeing none, we will proceed to the next item. Academic action items. Approval of the Dupree Academy High School turnaround plan. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, so this is a requirement based on federal laws regarding turnaround plans that must be developed if a campus falls under what is called comprehensive support. And I want to thank Carolyn Thompson-Conwright, the principal at Dupree Academy. She has done phenomenal work with her students. As you guys know, she is serving an at-risk population of students, and she is doing tremendous work in getting them through high school, getting them graduated, and so we are incredibly proud of what she's doing. Also want to thank Debbie Alderson, who's here. She also works alongside Carolyn and other principals as well to develop these plans and report on these plans. So this is just your approval of the turnaround plan for Dupree Academy. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Carolyn a couple of questions, if you don't mind coming up, please. Can you explain to us the turnaround plan and how we got here?
The turnaround plan, it's a federal mandate, and due to the fact that we have been unacceptable for 2 years in a row, then we have to do a turnaround plan. And how we got here is that we did not meet the criteria that's set for alternative education programs. And so what that means that in Domain 3, Dupree is a credit recovery school, dropout prevention school. And so therefore in Domain 3, the CCMR, that would be where students are getting endorsement plans, the TSI, et cetera. And so with the students that we get, we have a revolving door where they come in and they go out. In other words, they're coming in at any point in time, primary education, and they're graduating. They graduate from their home high school. And so therefore, we don't keep kids in some of our kids come in the 9th grade, and by the time they graduate junior or senior year, then they are graduating, but meanwhile, we don't get credit for their graduation. We're not getting credit for their CCMR. And then some of our kids come as seniors, and they may need 2 or 3 credits. And only needing 2 or 3 credits, they may not be there for a long period of time. And so, therefore, we're not getting credit for those students. But let me say this, as a principal of Dupree, I'm very confident, and I'll take the hit at any time when it comes to numbers. But we're not operating to necessarily meet criteria. We're operating so that we meet the needs of students in the district
That's
that are
right.
marginalized, students that are at risk. And so if you look at us on the state side, then you'll see that we meet the criteria for graduation, academic success, the criteria for attendance. And so, you know, I meet with Misty all the time, and it breaks my heart that when we look at numbers from the state or from the state or federal, then we kind of have a deep feeling that we're not doing a great job.
You are.
But when you look at what we actually do at Dupree, as of now, we probably have about 160 kids that would have been dropped out that will graduate. And as of in May, then our numbers will increase because every day we have students that are graduating.
Yeah.
And so just to give you just a short version of exactly what my vision is at Dupree, that is that everybody that walks through the door, my job is to make them successful. My staff does a wonderful job. And let me say this, Misty, Dr. Rollo, and everyone else do a great job of supporting us. And I'm kind of like the squeaky wheel, and I cry a lot. And when I say cry, it's not tears. I cry out what we need, when we need it, and how we need it. To be sure that those students that are coming to our campus are successful. When a student is successful, a family is successful. And when a family is successful, a community is successful.
That's right.
And so that pretty much gives you a short synopsis of what we do at Dupree.
Thank you. I asked it that intentionally because you and I have had these conversations. I've gone to your events and programs that you've had, and they're phenomenal. I've spent time there and helped in any way that I can, and I encourage you trustees to also go do the same, to see the changes and why these numbers drop, and you explained it beautifully, so thank you, and that's why I wanted you to come up, so there would be more clarity to everybody else out there that does not know why we're at where we're at. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you for bringing that to the public's attention. I think that's important.
Yes.
Dupree is making a difference in the lives of
Absolutely.
kids and getting them that diploma and an opportunity to change their own lives and their families.
Absolutely.
And that's what we really need to be measuring.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have any other
Right.
place.
So
We're grateful.
kudos to what you guys are doing. And we hope someday the state recognizes and changes the measurement tool to recognize the real outcomes that you are having.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thank you, Debbie, for what you're doing.
They are doing the right things for students.
That's the right thing for
Absolutely.
kids. You're right.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the Dupree Academy High School turnaround plan?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Approval of the certification of provision of instructional materials 2025 to 2026 form. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, this is just an annual required form for instructional materials certification. You have approved these individual items already, but this is just a form that must be approved by you that lists our instructional materials.
Any questions, trustees? Do I have a motion to approve the certification of provision of instructional materials 2025-2026 form?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Approval of curriculum materials for instruction relating to child abuse, family violence, dating violence, sex trafficking, and suicide prevention as recommended by the Health Advisory Council, or SHAC.
Yes, so the SHAC committee has brought a recommendation for you to look at the curriculum around what Beth just read, and they are recommending a change in our curriculum to align for elementary, and this is switching to the Children's Advocacy Center of Lubbock to provide the training in these areas for our campuses. The nice thing about this is it actually saves the district some money, and it doesn't put the burden on the counselors alone to provide the teaching of this curriculum. The Children's Advocacy Center now has the capacity that they can actually come in and provide the training themselves. The counselors will be a part of it, but they can help with any trauma students are experiencing with result of training. And so this is really helpful for our counselors as well. So we're asking you to approve Children's Advocacy Center providing this training for us.
I so approve of it.
We have let's ask questions. Anybody have questions about this first before we move to
Yeah.
motion?
Dr. Rollo, is this for the 2025-2026 calendar year?
Yes, this
Okay.
would start for next school year.
Okay.
And the SHAC committee is made up of who makes up the SHAC
The
committee?
SHAC committee is a group of community members. We have parents, we have community members. There are a lot of people from the medical field that are part of this committee, and parents. It is led by Catherine Wells and Paulette Rosnick, lead it together. How many people, Misty?
There's 60 on the books. We have 25 that come on a regular basis. We meet both in person and virtual every month.
Thank you.
And how are they selected?
They actually apply.
Okay.
There's an application online, and it's open to any.
And that's pretty transparent.
Yes, ma'am. And then you can come in the following year.
Thank you. I thought so.
All right, anything else? All right. Do we have a motion to approve the Children Advocacy Center's Play It Safe curriculum for instruction relating to child abuse, family violence, dating violence, sex trafficking, and suicide prevention as recommended by the School Health Advisory Council?
I so move that.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Approval of agreement to participate in the shared services arrangement with the Lubbock Regional Day School Program for the Deaf. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, we are actually going to table this motion for right now because Mrs. Finger has asked for additional time to review.
Okay. So this motion will be tabled, and we will have this at a later board meeting. Thank you. And we'll move on to approval of the Head Start carryover application. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, so this is just a carryover application. This is for $164,493 of unused federal funds to serve 540 students, just carrying over to the next year. And I just want to thank Joni Rodella. She oversees Head Start for Lubbock ISD, as well as our early childhood program. So thank you, Joni.
Any questions? All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Approval of the Head Start self-assessment.
Yes, so this is just an annual item we bring to you. We are required to do a self-assessment. I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, I want to thank Joni for her tremendous work that she has done in the Head Start program.
Trustees, any questions, comments?
The only question I would ask, given that I was on that audit last spring, have we done a good job of rectifying all their suggestions and on track? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the Head Start self-assessment?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. All right, the next section is administrative action items. Approval of state waiver for low attendance day. Dr.
This was our lovely weather day we had the Friday before spring break. And as you guys know, we had a record dust storm wind day, and our attendance was lower on that day. So we are requesting a waiver from the state, which allows us to use last year's attendance data instead of this year's attendance data on that day.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the state waiver for low attendance on March 14th, 2025?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Interesting that wind causes that here in West Texas, so rather than snow. Approval of revisions to board policy CQ local, technology resources, and EIA local academic achievement, grading progress reports to parents. Dr. Bolo.
Yes, so this is related to the work that we have done with our Artificial Intelligence Committee over the last year. And I want to commend Misty for having the vision that we needed to develop a plan around this, and also Carrie Fulgham. She's done a fantastic job of helping lead the work around this. We had a AI committee that did a lot of research and studied over the year. Lubbock ISD is on the forefront of actually developing policy in a very thoughtful, thorough way around the use of artificial intelligence. We've discussed this a lot in committee, so I won't go into details, but if you have questions, Misty would be more than happy to answer those for you. But this is policy related to the work that's been done around artificial intelligence.
I'm just excited with your team. Gosh, they're so strategic in what they're doing. There's a lot that goes into it. It's impressive. So thank you for what you've been doing too.
Yeah, I'd echo the presentations you all have done have been so
Yes.
thorough and such strategic thinking that
Very
has
much.
gone into looking at this with lots of different directions and lots of stakeholders. So really
Yep.
commending being a trailblazer, and Lubbock ISD is often a trailblazer, but
Amen.
appreciate the work you all have done around this issue that everybody in the state is struggling with, and you all really put the work to it. So thank you. Good job, Carrie, Misty.
Do you have a motion to approve the revisions to Board Policy CQ Local Technology Resources and EIA Local Academic Achievement Grading Progress Reports to Parents as presented?
I so approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Great work, everybody. Approval of the 2025-2026 board meeting schedule, and Dr. Rollo, and let's see, page 59 of the board packet is the schedule to review.
Yes, this is a schedule of our board meetings for the upcoming school year, but it actually starts with our June 26th meeting and then goes through August 27th. You will note that we have a evening meeting scheduled this June. We also have one in October, one in March, and then again next June. So based on community feedback, having evening meetings built into the schedule allows more flexibility for families who want to come to meetings in the evening. So we have accommodated that request. Happy to answer any questions.
Do I have a motion to approve the 2025-2026 board meeting schedule?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Procurement and contracts, approval of district purchases. Mr. Rodriguez.
I guess I probably need this microphone. Good morning, Board of Trustees. Great to see you all this morning. We have some purchases to review with you, go over with you, starting on page 61 of your board packet. Starting at the top, Reading Academies. It's a $12,000 expenditure for Region 17. What this allows us to do is to bring a trainer to us as opposed to us paying to go for per person, per teacher that we go get trained. So it's a significant savings for us to do it this way. The next two are TIA related expenditures. We use TIA funds to pay for these two for Texas Tech. One is for the validity and bias evaluation for our pre and post tests, and the second is related to the calculation of student growth for TIA. So both of those, we use the holdback that we are allowed to for the TIA funding that we get. Then the next two are related to curriculum, HQIM funds for the Amplify Education, and the second software for Eduphoria. We use this for test construction and assessment and analyzing student progress. Just to point out, the software for Eduphoria is $4,000 less than what it was last year. The next one is for point of sales. That's what POS stands for, point of sale equipment. We're using food service funds to improve our services for kids there. Be happy to answer questions there.
Do I have a collective motion to approve the district purchases as presented?
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Approval of district contract renewals. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Bridges. So in our contract renewal bucket, we have our Sodexo contract. Just point out this is year 4 or 5. We had Sodexo leadership come to our Finance Operations Committee, and we appreciate our partnership, our continued partnership with them. Got some good feedback, and we continue to enjoy that long-lasting relationship. Then the next one is child care services. This is our partnership with Early Learning Center. Again, year 4 or 5 in that agreement. The next one is the Texas Kids First. We discussed this in our finance operations meeting with Ms. Thompson. This is our student athletic insurance. It's optional for parents. This is information that we send out at the beginning of the year for parents to take advantage of if their kiddos are participating in UIL activities and they get hurt. This is a supplemental plan for them to take advantage. Very reasonable cost to our parents. The next one is some dedicated wide area network. So otherwise you'll hear us talk about UPN. So it's a UPN connection. This is our fiber optic network connecting all of our facilities as well as the 2 sites to support internet service for our district. Backbone is how Damon Jackson refers to that. And then the next 2 are partnerships with Durham Transportation, our transportation services for our kids, enjoying a continued partnership with Durham, as well as our Aramark food service agreement. So those 2 contracts are up for renewal. Point out year 5 of 5, and so for transportation services, we will start that RFP process as we go through this fall. And then the food services contract is year 4 or 5. So we have another year before we have to go out to RFP for that one. So happy to answer any questions.
Rick, on the child care services, that Early Learning Center, is that still federally funded also?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is it federally funded also, the early learning centers? They used to be or are?
No,
or not?
We use 199 funds for.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
that's general funded.
Okay, okay. So it is general, is that what you said?
It's general fund.
Okay.
And just to point out, that's at Dupree. That's just another layer of special services that we provide for those students to get them through, so they can have childcare.
Correct.
If they are doing credit recovery or what they need to do. So
Rather than,
Thank you for pointing
yes.
that out. I will. Oh,
Rather than us provide the child care services, we contract with Early Learning Centers.
Okay.
Because they're licensed. They hire the people that run the program. We just house them at Dupree Academy.
Okay.
And students have the opportunity to take advantage of that, as well as staff members have the opportunity to take advantage of that. Now, there is a cost. It's based on a sliding scale, but it
And
does.
that part is federally funded, right?
No,
And none of it?
it's not federally funded, no. No. They may get some federal grants, but that would be with the Early Learning Centers, not with
Okay.
us.
No, right, okay. Got you. Okay, that's clarity.
any other questions or comments? All right, do I have a collective motion to approve the district contract renewals as presented?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All right, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Approval of construction job order contracting delivery method and delegation of authority. Mr. Rodriguez, maybe you can say it better than I can.
Thank you, Ms. Bridges. If I could just acknowledge, Troy Talley is here from Sodexo, and just want to thank him for coming this morning to be with us. I didn't see him earlier, so I didn't turn around. He's joined us, so we appreciate, Troy, you being here with us. All right, job order contracting delivery method, we're asking for delegation of authority for choosing criteria, relative weights, ranking, selecting and evaluation proposals, and we're asking for the delivery method of job order contract for 3 projects. The Dunbar track replacement, we're going to completely replace the Dunbar track. We are going to do some miscellaneous parking lot repairs around the district. Mr. Nans and I drove around the district and have done some assessment of what parking lots we need to completely replace, and where we can get away with just patching up some things and buy us a little bit of time with those. And then some window replacements at Coronado High School. It's be our west-facing side of the school. And these are items that we discussed in our facilities committee yesterday morning. Happy to answer questions on that.
Rick, is the Dunbar track approved insurance replacement?
It is.
In part.
There's some
Okay.
RCV value that, anyway, I won't get into that. Sorry. I shouldn't.
All right, do I have a motion to approve delegating authority to the superintendent for choosing criteria, relative weights, ranking, selecting, and evaluation of proposals, and approval of the use of construction job order contracting delivery method for the projects presented?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Approval of district construction purchases, sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Bridges. So again, items we discussed yesterday in our facilities committee. And so the first one, let me do it this way. The installation and construction related to portables and the renovations for classrooms at Atkins. Those are two items that we're using funds. If y'all recall, you all had designated some funds for OL Slayton to be renovated at that time. We thought we might go that direction. Obviously, we pivoted away from that. And so those are the funds that we're using for these projects. And so we're using those designated funds. Therefore, if this is approved today, then next month at the next board meeting, you'll see a budget amendment that Dr. Wilkins will bring reflecting those two expenditures. And then the center one is the renovations for Pete Regas, our filtration plaster for the pool, lighting, and striping and swimming of the swimming pool. So that's that expenditure. Happy to answer questions.
And just to clarify, I think you said this in committee, but the portables and the construction at Atkins, that is all related to the movement of students that will happen in the fall. And so we are preparing, and y'all have done a lot of planning ahead to make sure that things are set and ready, and we can provide everything that students and parents are expecting in those as students transition to a different building.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. What we waited for the student transfers to be approved, not approved. And once those were approved, then we used those numbers to then generate where we needed to make these moves. And that's how we're preparing to make sure that those that have been approved and based on students rolling up to the next grade level, generating those numbers to tell us where we needed to make these moves. So.
Good management of funds, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a collective motion to approve the district construction purchases as presented?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. All right, district-wide intruder detection audit report findings. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, so as you guys are very well aware, as a governor order, every Lubbock ISD school, every school in the state of Texas has at least one intrusion audit each year. And if there is a finding, we are required to talk about that in this public open meeting. And so at this point in the year, over 90% of our campuses have been audited this year. Since the last time we reported, we have had one intrusion audit finding. Someone was able to gain access to the building through an exterior door on one of our campuses, and I shared with you in executive session the details of that.
And when something like that is found, I mean, there's immediate addressing of that situation.
Absolutely.
Correct?
If it's a maintenance error that is repaired, there's required training on the campus, and Shane Anderson does a great job of making sure that the campus is trained and that the issues are all addressed, and it has been addressed.
And I know Shane has shared that, I mean, they have an employee that's really their job is to go and check doors all day, every day.
We have a security
So
officer, and that is their sole job.
It's taken
is
seriously.
So on top of the TEA audit, which is handled through the service center, we do our own internal audits on a weekly basis at every campus to ensure that we are doing what we need to do to keep our students and staff safe.
Any other questions, trustees? All right. There's no action on that, so that's just information for us. Thank you. And we move on to presentations. And our first presentation is with Mr. Caceres. Scissors. Our Chief Innovation Officer to present School Consolidation Decision Framework. Thank you.
And while he's getting ready, thank you. We bumped this from the last meeting because we were over time, but I want to thank Ken, and I want to thank you as a Board of Trustees for pushing the administration to develop a framework that helps guide future considerations around potential consolidations. And we feel like this is we're still at the very beginning stages, and we want to get a lot of feedback from our community. But I want to thank Ken for taking the lead on this work for us. And he's going to share with you what we have come up with just from the very initial stages.
Good morning, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rollo, Madam Board President. Just wanted to share some information as far as our school consolidation decision framework. As you know, a lot of times when I come up here and present the QSA, we're talking about declining enrollment and some of the things and issues that we're having to face as a district, some tough challenges that we've been facing here lately. And so one of the things that as we move forward is just trying to make sure that we have a transparent guide in order to help us make these decisions in the future. So our objective here is to, number one, build a common understanding of purpose and goals on a decision-making framework for potential future school consolidations, and share this potential decision framework and how it impacts the system, and also just talk about some of the work that we've shared previously. So again, we want to make sure we're creating greater transparency for our community. We want to have a framework for equitable recommendations and decisions. We want to make sure we have a long-term sustainability of our system. And we also want to support you as our board members in helping to make some of these challenging decisions in the future. Again, it's one of those things as we go through and we talk about declining enrollment, not just here in our district, but across the state, and even talking about declining birth rates across the nation, how that impacts all school systems and how we can make better informed decisions in the future. So a couple of things that we've looked at is we've looked at some other districts. The one district on the very right, you can see their framework there, that's in Lafayette, Louisiana, and the metrics that they use in order to make some of those decisions about some of the schools and some of the schools that they may be looking at consolidations. On the left-hand side, you see San Antonio's framework. And San Antonio is unique because they actually have it public-facing. They actually do share information as far as getting feedback from the community. They've set up their contextual frameworks and decision-making frameworks, but then they've gone back to the community and they've asked for input from the community. So what you see here in their decision-making framework is the areas that are in the black text are decisions that came up from the district. Those that are in red are actually information that they received from the community to add further context and clarification to what decisions that the district could make when looking at school consolidations. And so, and they've, again, they've taken this framework and they've looked at things such as enrollment and what does it look like on the secondary side, elementary. Some of their campuses are 6 through 12 campuses, so how does it affect those campuses there? When they're looking at their frameworks, they're looking at facility usage as well as cost per pupil. And they've broken that cost even down further by elementary, middle school, high school, and those kinds of metrics they're looking at. So when we've talked through committee and we've shared some of the information, what best fits us as a district as we move forward and to look at a decision-making framework is to look at something where, again, we're looking at qualitative and quantitative data in order to help us make some decisions in the future. Also looking at rubrics, so we could look at other metrics and other qualitative and quantitative measures to make us, to ensure that we're making the best decision possible for our district and our students as we move forward. So again, the rationale for looking at this type of framework is we, again, need to make sure that we take significant action to address challenges facing the district. I mean, we have these challenges that we've discussed and we've looked through over the fall and had to make some tough decisions. We also want to look at our city overall and our district overall. There's some very unique geographical considerations that we have to look at, especially when we look at our infrastructure within the city and how some of our roadways kind of help provide barriers when we're talking about students being able to move from one side of the city to the next. And then also making sure we're open to the community and have voice and feedback so that they're able to help us when we're making a good framework and rubric to make those decisions in the future. So as we look at the framework overall, we're looking to look at goals and the overall processes that help guide decision making. We'll look at quantitative metrics that will help identify schools for potential consolidations in the future. And then we'll look at qualitative and community specific information that will inform our ultimate decision making process. So again, our guiding principles is for, number one, for us to have a robust student experience. We want to make sure that we're looking at our mission, vision, values, our North Star goal, because again, we want to make sure that our students have that experience that they deserve in our district. It is important for our students to be able to have availability of different elective choices, such as choir, orchestra, theater, those kinds of things that our students really look forward to when they come to school. Making sure that we're being financially sustainable, that we are being good stewards of our taxpayer money, and the sacrifice that a lot of our families make to make sure that we have quality schools in our district. Making sure we have equitable access and opportunity for these programs across our district. Making sure it's community centered. Again, making sure we're getting feedback from our community when we're looking at decisions in the future. And again, being transparent in how this process is looked upon and how we can make it more transparent for our community as we move forward. So when we look at proposed primary metrics, just initial metrics that we're going to look at, we would look at things such as overall enrollment. So that number could be determined by input. It could be if we're looking at a school, let's say an elementary campus of 400 or 450, that's going to depend on input that we receive from the community. But then we take that overall enrollment and add another layer to that, looking at facility utilization. Is that building being utilized effectively? We may have a school where they maybe don't meet that first metric, but their overall building utilization is 100% or over 100%, because we do have some buildings in our district that actually are over that utilization rate of 70% or even higher. And then we also would add another layer, per pupil spending, where is this school above the district average? And if they were to meet all these three criteria, then they could be considered for potential consolidations in the future. So then we can take that basic framework there and then add other alternate options to that. We could look at other potential criteria, such as looking at, is this the only school within that same high school feeder campus, which we have a middle school, for example, that only feeds into one high school. We can look at geographic boundaries, again, looking at our infrastructure and roadways, and is that a barrier? Looking at facility capacity to accommodate all students. So if we were to make a move, can we ensure that a lot of our students would be able to transfer so that there is continuity within that school system and with those students there? And then we could look at also academic performance. With all of those actual additional criteria that we add, some of the strengths, again, it's bringing continuity to our families and helping them as they access our programs and access things that are necessary for our students to be able to thrive and just do well in school. But at the same time, as we add more layers for that criteria, the risks are involved as it does limit some actions that we may need to take in the future. But again, those are things that we as a community and as a district will make that decision based on their feedback. So other implementation considerations to think about, again, we talked about transparency, making sure that it is open. One example is in San Antonio, where they actually have on their website dedicated basically a one-pager of all schools and where they're at with building utilizations, cost per pupil. They even go into taking in some of the state ratings and add that to that one pager, just so that the community understands this is where our school is at right now. Looking at equitable access and opportunity, looking at transfers and how that goes in our district. We have some schools within our district that are choice schools, and a lot of people, again, want to try to choose and try to do their best to get to that school. And so we can look at transfers and how that impacts our families. Also making sure we have additional resources available for receiving schools. And again, we want to make sure this is community-centered. We want to make sure we have a clear process for community feedback on new program elements once a decision made, and then also make sure we have a timeline that gives us a long enough runway in case we have to make further future consolidations in the future. So basically, that's what we're looking at right now. We really begin to want to look at this in the fall, where we are able to start going into the community, receiving some feedback as we start to bring a system and a framework and a rubric that's going to be beneficial for the decisions that we may have to make in the future. And at this time, I'll take any questions you may have.
I think that's interesting to see that. Yeah.
You know, we hear the community talk a lot about transparency. We heard about it today. Want to commend Trustee Curry for encouraging coming up with something that can be very easily and publicly measured. I think this is a, you know, a great answer to the question or the request of transparency to the public. You know, and it's relatively simple and it makes a lot of sense. You know, the quantitative criteria for, you know, you've got a school with 275 kiddos in it that's 50% full and it costs $9,000 a year to educate them in that building. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't necessarily mean that we need to close that school or consolidate it or put people into a panic, but it certainly helps to put it on the radar to say, you know, if we can turn this around, what can we do? And everyone's aware, including the public, including the stakeholders, the students, the parents. And I think that's important. And then, you know, the qualitative aspects that you mentioned, feeder pattern components, programming. So, you know, I think Dr. Rollo put it very eloquently when she said, you know, our neighborhoods are becoming a little bit larger. In a lot of these cases, you know, the old model of having a school in every neighborhood, every square mile, isn't really the case anymore. So really appreciate all of you guys' work. I really hope that the public, you know, gets on YouTube and watches this meeting, or that they look at, or that they look up, you know, and pay attention to what this framework consists of, because that's, you know, that can help them in their decision making, and really appreciate all y'all's work on it.
Thank
I
you.
think it's a lot broader now, the transparency, that's obvious, so I really like that
Yeah,
part. too.
absolutely. Thank
That
you.
has always been an issue, I have to agree.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
I
ma'am.
want to echo Mr. Redige's remarks about Mr. Curry really bringing this to everybody's attention and starting this process. I think it is going to be so helpful in managing expectations of our stakeholders, and everybody will know here's the deal. I want to reiterate what you've said, and because you've described it in the past as a funnel, and the top of that funnel, it's all three criteria. It's enrollment, building utilization, and cost per pupil spending at that particular campus. That's the first layer, but for a school to be considered going to the next layer of the funnel, you have to meet all three of those. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
So I think that will give a lot of families an opportunity to go, wow, we are a little bit short on enrollment and building utilization. Let's recruit some of our neighborhood friends who may be transferring out of the neighborhood. Keep your kids in our neighborhood school. So I think it's helps.
Absolutely. You know, one of the strengths of our district is we are a district of choice, and we have great programs and great enrichment opportunities across our district. So families can take advantage of that, not only within our district, but we have a lot of families outside of our district that take advantage of those, that come to our district because of the great quality programming that we have, and some of the unique programs that aren't available at their school in their district. So again, that's another criteria that we can look at is what are we drawing into that campus, and what unique programs that we have that would not make it cost effective to move it to another campus. IB is one example.
You know, more importantly, to add to what Nancy's just saying, is that we need to promote them. We need to start promoting these programs that we have so that they don't start declining again, or we can get more transfers into these schools that do have special programs. If we're not promoting, we're stagnant, we're not getting anywhere. So what's the sense of doing it if we're not going to start promoting? So keep that in mind.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for sharing about what San Antonio is doing and such.
Yes, ma'am.
It was
Of course.
good to see you there when
Yeah.
I was there.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. And that helps, you know, as a system of great schools network, we're one of the districts of 22 other districts across the state. You know, we're able to see what other districts are doing and get feedback from them. Recently, we were in Holdsworth, El Paso shared some of their framework with Dr. Rollo, and so we're able to we have another example to start looking at, because they've had to make a lot of tough decisions in the last year in looking at some consolidations on their own districts.
Ken, I appreciate the work you guys have done, and I know the committees that have heard it have added some input, and so I love where we're at. A few things for consideration. One, and I understand, Dr. Rollo, y'all's plan is to kind of wrap this up in the fall, and I know that we need to be measured in how we go about this and make sure we have community input. I would challenge us, Ken, you, that this be finalized sooner rather than later, early in the school year or right at the beginning, only because I think part, having the criteria and making it accessible is one thing, but I think really notifying not only the parents, but the teachers and the staff at each school, hey, here's your snapshot. And, what I envision, not to say this is the way it would work, but what I envision is that, every summer you update that snapshot. And I think it should be based on some type of 3-year average. I don't think it's fair to any school to either give them a plus or a minus based on 1 year. You may have something weird happen at a campus, whatever the case is. But to me, I would envision us putting like a campus on probation for a year, like saying, hey, here's your data, your 3-year average. We're letting you know if this remains the same this year, then we are making a 12-month plan or whatever, that this campus will no longer be part of the system. And so that way, not only for families that are there, like Ms. Sharp said, with respect to recruiting, but also maybe a family who's deciding what school they want to send their kid to. They look at the trajectory of X school and they're like, man, their numbers are, touching whatever buckets. I'd rather send my kid to this bucket because this bucket seems to be more stable. And I think that's
right.
I think that's the fair part from the community standpoint and or from the staff standpoint, because whether it's this board or a future board, I think tougher conversations are going to be had sooner rather than later, regardless of what transpires with the bond in a week and a half or whatever, just because of what's happening in public ed and inner city schools. And so I think the faster while doing it smart, and the more upfront that we can be with respect to, maybe it's part of a PTA program at every school, or maybe it's part of a required parent meeting, something where we can sign off on saying you were given this information, and it's not to bash a school or anything else. It's just to say, hey, here's the data, and we want to be upfront with you, so that way, if in a year or 2 years we're having a conversation, it'll still be emotional. We're never going to get rid of the emotion. But I would hope that the vast majority of the people would be like, well, they told us. I mean, like, this was out in the open. This wasn't, done in some closet, because a lot of people talk about it always being done in the dark, which I don't think it is. But I think this is a fantastic way for the community to be part of the process, to improve or transition or whatever that looks like.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that feedback, Mr. Curry. We, with the very, very difficult decisions that this board made in December, we have done the consolidations we can really do for at least another year.
Yeah.
So our plan was to have town halls in your districts, and we didn't think that the summer would be necessarily the best time to do those for attendance purposes. So our plan was to schedule those in the early fall.
Yeah.
So then we would use that feedback to make decisions early in the fall.
I think that's a great plan.
Okay.
But with your recommendations, I guess if we were to go into the next school year, and we did do kind of a probationary, it would kind of extend our ability to be able to continue conversations. So if, based on your example, if a school is, kind of put on notice that, all 3 buckets are below whatever thresholds are set, but that backward-looking data is trending upwards, it might be, easier to have that conversation. Let's give it another year, see if those, numbers continue to trend upwards. And, to your point, I mean, especially if, parents have kids that are in first and second grade, that really helps with that decision making of, am I going to have to uproot my kid, go to a different school, or, consider that possibility right in the middle of them developing their kind of friend group and, norms and everything. So for sure, I think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
Sorry
you very
for
much,
delaying
Ken.
you.
No, you're good.
just as
Yes.
important as everybody else.
Well, I
Thank
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the work you put into
You
this.
just
This
take
is
your
super
time
helpful.
and
good
do
day.
it and make it right. That's all. Bless his heart.
Okay, trustees, grab your budget workshop book, and we'll invite Dr. Wilkins to come up and start us on budget workshop.
All right. Good morning, President Bridges, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rollo. This is really our first glance at the budget for next year as a whole group. So we've talked about it in Finance Committee, and now this will be the first presentation. But I want to draw your attention to a couple things before we get started. Legislature's still in session, so we know that that holds some things that we don't know what's going to happen right now. So this budget is built on current law. Know that. It is built on current law. So, and then second, there's some items highlighted yellow in the packet. Those are estimations because we don't have all the data yet to put that information in there. So those are estimations. So, all right, moving forward. First thing you're going to see is our calendar and key dates. There's some things that are coming up and times that you will see presentations and information on the budget. But the one that I will draw your attention to is the June date when we will adopt the budget. So know that we will adopt for a July 1 start. The next page you'll look at is, it has some of those yellow highlighted areas. And so we do not have our preliminary tax values yet. Those do not come in till most of the time the end of April. So I can't even begin to estimate what our tax rate will be. So I'm using current preliminary values or certified values and current tax rate. But I do have an estimated ADA in there just for y'all's draw your attention to that. So doing a little bit of a decrease there. The next is your general operating revenues. And so we do show a slight decrease in our general operating revenues, and that's mainly due to the reduction in ADA at this time. Like I said, we don't know what our tax values are at this time, so that's how we're looking at this. So breaking down the general operating revenues, I highlighted the tax values, left those identically the same, but going down through there, the ASF, that's our reduction in ADA, and then we have an increase in foundation school funds, and then we also have a decrease in our general sources, which is our SHARs, and some indirect cost changes with food service. The next slide is your budgeted expenditures. And so we do have a decrease of a little over $3 million in our expenditures from this year to next year. And I will talk you through those on the next page. So if you look, we have a reduction in payroll of a little over $4 million. We do have a slight increase in contracted services, and that's just kind of the nature of the beast. As we trim, lo and behold, contracted services, everybody charges more for their services, so those increase. We do have an increase in materials, and I will draw your attention to that number because I'll talk about it on the next slide on what that increase is. We have a decrease in miscellaneous. And most of that is travel. If you'll look on the next slide, I'll point that out to you also on the next slide. So moving on, the next slide draws your attention to our decrease in personnel. We then have our Sodexo contract. It's a slight increase of $46,000, which does include a 2% pay raise for them because they didn't get one last year. So the Durham contract is an estimate. The reason it's an estimate is those kids have not got on the bus yet. We do not have all of our ARDs completed. We don't have that information yet. So this is based on trends and estimations. So I draw your attention to that to say that's an estimate. Facilities officials increased due to several years ago, Tasso increased their fees, and so we are now reflecting that. The TRE student computers, that's the one that showed that increase on the last slide, and I'm going to draw your attention to that because we were able to put that into ESSER one last time this year, and that's going to have to come back to our general budget. So we knew that was coming back. We had talked about it. It's just now we're seeing it. And then you have your decreases. We have a decrease in employee travel. That's nearly about a 40% decrease when you look at what we spend. And then you have property insurance as a decrease of a little over $1 million, and that's nice to see. So moving on to your next slide. This is your revenues over expenditures and where we currently sit with estimations and some things that we currently know that we have budgeted. So we're currently sitting at a deficit of 7.3 million, just a little over that. And like I said, this is going to be a changing number. We got a lot of factors going on. We got preliminary values coming in. We got tax rate happening. We got legislative session going on. So we have a lot of things right now, and this is a moving target, and it will constantly move. Going to your next slide, just a couple of things that are remaining that we're going to watch is our salary cost, what we're doing currently on attrition and what we're looking at there. The next thing is non-payroll budget items that we're constantly scrutinizing and looking through and scrubbing to make sure that we're being as fiscally responsible and as efficient as we can be. And then local property values, those are going to be coming in pretty soon. And then our food service, it has been approved by the state, so now you'll see that probably next meeting. And debt service, can't do that until we get our tax values. So won't know debt service until then. So that is all I have for the current budget. I'll answer any questions if you have any questions.
I know hypotheticals are difficult. There's been a lot of misinformation in the public as of late, discussing the money that is still not been approved. There's been nothing in Austin that has been approved that's gone and gotten a governor's signature on funding for us. But I had a discussion with you earlier about best case scenario. If all the money that has been proposed, the best bill passed that gave increased the basic allotment the most, and it didn't have any strings attached, that still really would not even cover what our deficit is going to be that is projected. And I know this is all projections and hypotheticals, but I think there's some misinformation that things that we are asking for bonds to cover would be covered by what the state legislature is proposing, and that I want the public to understand that that is not the case.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct in that the money that is being proposed at this time would not be enough to cover our deficit at this time. So that's important to know, and if we would have had that money this year, it wouldn't have covered our deficit. It wouldn't have been enough. So
while we are grateful for everything the Texas legislature does, we will be grateful for any increase. I just want to make sure people understand with a $290 million bond election coming up in the next 10 days, that is not going to cover anywhere near what we're asking voters to approve.
Correct.
Or what is going to be on the ballot. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
And while we're dealing in hypotheticals, when you look at the Anita Carmona Harrison savings and operating expenditures of $1.8 million, one could hypothetically perhaps draw a conclusion that with what is proposed, part of what is proposed in the bond to increase efficiencies, that it's possible that with some help from the legislature and the passage of a bond that we might be able to get that number into the black.
We could get very close, yes,
Yeah.
right now. Looking at just some estimations and playing hypotheticals, you're exactly right. It could be very close.
Yeah.
So the coming months will be very important, and the information coming out and the quicker that they can get things signed in the law obviously plays in our favor.
Yeah.
Because if they wait late signing in the things into law, I have to go off current law, and so that postpones what we actually know.
Hypothetically.
Yes, hypothetically. That is right. That's the term today.
That's right.
Dwayne, I just being on the finance committee, I want to thank you and your staff and the team, as well as Rick. I wish the public could get a view to the hard conversations that are having to be had within not only that committee meeting, but also with principals of various campuses and directors of programmings. I mean, I understand that the community sometimes feels that all government wastes money, and are there more ways that we could find efficiencies? Absolutely. I mean, I don't think anybody has anything operating perfectly, but man, having been part of those conversations, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the willingness of principals, while they don't love it, to be realistic in what we're dealing with and what we have. And One thing I want to caution everybody that, to John's point, that watches this on YouTube, which probably is like 3 people. I know we talk a lot about money up here, and I can't speak for my colleagues, but having listened to several of them, some for 7 years, others for 1 year, it's not all about the money, but the problem is the money enables us to have programming. The money enables us to pay people what we think they're worth, and when people are paid what they're worth, they're more excited to be at work, they're more encouraged, all the things. And so while money doesn't solve all the problems, and it won't, money doesn't get test scores up, it definitely helps us do some things that I think support the system as a whole in a much more friendly way for those people that are working their tails off. And I would say the overwhelming majority of the people that are in public ed are working their tails off, because I'm sure generations before us have thought the world is ending. I can't imagine it's worse than what it is right now in our country, but I appreciate all the folks that get up and fight the good fight. And so when you hear us talk about the budget, I just don't want people to think that it's always about the money, because it's
a business.
It's not. But yeah, to Lala's point, I mean, we still run off of revenue and expenses.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a balance sheet and a P&L just like everybody else. We didn't decide how this thing gets funded. We deal with the rules that are given to us. And so I just caution folks, especially with some of the stuff, like Nancy said, that the misinformation is almost laughable at this point. And so happy to have conversations with anybody, but appreciate the challenge that you've had for the last year coming in this. I still am not sure that they told you that when they interviewed you. But I've been appreciative as a taxpayer, because I don't want to pay more taxes either. I mean, let's be honest. But I appreciate the conversations that have been had.
Thank you. And that team you speak of goes further than the walls of my office. It's the principals, it's the teachers, it's the department heads, the department leads. I know they cringe when they see my name on an email or on the caller ID on the phone, and so they pick up and they answer, and we talk through it. And it is about efficiency, but it's also about impact, about what we can do for kids and the impact we can provide for kids. So, yes, thank you to a great team.
And just to the point Mr. Rodriguez made earlier about bringing a trainer in instead of sending people to a conference to get the training, you all are looking under, you tell us you are looking under every rock, and you have looked under every rock and not refilled positions at central office and eliminated and made the most efficient use of dollars. And so thank you for what you're doing.
I think we're down to grains of sand now we're looking under, so we've looked under everything. But
Well,
yes.
it is about striking that balance between, cutting programs that, we have to, or that, we can, but also providing that student experience and that teacher experience.
Right.
So to everyone's point, it is not just something that happens overnight or that's not looked at. So thank you.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
we'll see what legislator has to say. We might have a different conversation then, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have need for a short executive closed session, so we will adjourn. Executive closed session will be held under the provisions of Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. It is 8:49 a.m., and we are adjourned to closed session. It is 9:19 a.m. and we are reconvened from executive closed session. Do we have any actions following closed session? Hearing none, we are adjourned and it's still 9:19 a.m. Adjourned. Thank you.